Welcome to Aware. We are dedicated to communicating information that inspires your positive growth and change. Are you interested in a peaceful planet? Are you interested in optimal health? Are you living with purpose? Are you enjoying your life? We realize each person can make a difference, and our mission is to empower your awareness. The choices that you make in every moment shape your life, and we encourage you to realize that you have your own answers and to always listen to your own truth. We invite you to stay aware.
Hello and welcome to the Aware Show. I am Lisa Garr, and I have to tell you that this is a very exciting interview for me because one of my heroes is on the show today. Someone who has been responsible for basically over 250,000 copies of the book called Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, one of the most incredible sources of information on healthy fats that I know of in the world. He has done thousands and thousands of presentations, live presentations and interviews. He's traveled to 40 plus countries with his message on how to achieve perfect health, sold and distributed more than 25 million bottles of his Udo's Choice product line in 50 plus countries. Yes, Udo Erasmus is joining me, and I'm so honored. Welcome.
Hi, Lisa. Glad to be having this party.
Oh, yes. It's always so much fun talking with you. I feel like we're just like old friends, and we connect really fast again, and that's really fun for me.
Yep.
So you have, your latest book is called Total Sexy Health. And
yeah, the book on total sexy health. Yeah, the 8 key parts designed by nature.
So it's about the whole person health. It goes beyond the fats and oils, which is an essential part of our life. But it just can't be around fats and oils. You can't just take fats and oils and expect to have a healthy life, right?
Exactly. That's exactly the point. And I started asking the question, well, what else affects health? And then I got into digestion, enzymes and probiotics. Well, what else? Oh, inspiration. Because when you give people good information and you don't inspire them, they won't put it in practice. So inspiration is important for health. And then I started looking at, well, actually, who you spend time with, what your environment looks like, how you feel in your heart, whether you're fulfilled or empty feeling, whether you're in touch with the energy that is your power and your unconditional love, whether you're inspired about something, whether you have survival skills, and whether you take care of your body in all the other ways as well. All of those affect health. So if you want to be fully healthy, you literally have to give everything its due. And that's exciting. To me, that's exciting.
It is exciting. It's exciting. And also at the same time, you know that we're in a time of one of our greatest challenges as a humanity. We're in an existential crisis as humanity right now with what do we, all of a sudden overnight, we're in a pandemic world going forward.
Yeah.
How do we address the psychological issues around this, the health issues around this? And you're one of the foremost experts on health. What are you recommending?
Okay, so we're isolated, and often when you're not fully present in your own life and feel the love that life has for your body, because life loves your body unconditionally, 24/7, 365, lifelong, never asks for anything back, never goes on strike, never complains, never asks, never wants a raise. Loves, gives, weighs nothing, runs the entire show, is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient in your body. So all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere present in your body. There's your God. That's the definition of God. There's your God. Life is God.
Mm.
Even though it comes from the sun, subjectively, when you experience that, in that unconditional love, there is no loneliness, there is no longing, except maybe to get more of it. There's no emptiness, there's no restlessness, there is peace in that place, there's joy in that place. Anything is possible because you're not stuck in structured ways of thinking. And when you're disconnected from that, then you're not going to be feeling that. Then you're going to feel emptiness and loneliness and longing and restlessness and maybe blues because you want to try and get from other people what you actually already have within yourself.
So how do you get back to that? I mean, we do take this for granted, that we have this incredibly, innately intelligent ecosystem inside of us, that its only function is to make us feel good. I mean, it strives for that 24/7, is to bring homeostasis to our body. Right. And we forget. I mean, we really forget that. So are you saying that getting back in touch with that really could bring you a certain sense of joy?
Of course. The joy is, there is a joy inside of every human being that is just part of the nature of our being. It doesn't have to be joy for something or joy because of something or joy, joy that has a condition. This is unconditional joy. It is actually a state of being that we can just go to. And we don't feel it when we don't go to it. And we feel it when we go to it. Same with the unconditional love. Same with the perfect peace. They're states of being that exist always within us, no matter what drama, what trauma, what thing is going on the outside. That is the foundation of our being. So it's always available to us, but our senses take us out, away from it. And we take it for granted, except our heart hurts a little. And so all the craziness that's been going on this year, and craziness that goes on every year, all the way back 200,000 years, really, right? We're always focused on something on the outside that we need to deal with, and we neglect the solution to most of our psychological issues, and most of our fear-based issues, and most of our anger-based issues. That's a solution that already exists within us beyond those. And so we need to bring our awareness back, and there's a way to do that.
That is my question for you. So you, I understand, have experienced loneliness before, or the idea of being alone.
Yeah,
What's the difference? Pardon me?
I'm an expert on loneliness.
Tell me why. Tell me how you're an expert on loneliness.
Because I was born in a war, and I grew up very, very isolated. And so then I would look for, and I wasn't socially that well adapted for a lot of my childhood and early adulthood. And I didn't know what it was from, but it was from the same thing. I got dragged out into the world. The world was not a very friendly place when I was a kid. So with that goes the negativity. And so I lived in that negativity until I met somebody who said to me, there's something in you that's really beautiful. There's something in you that's always been there. And your heart actually aches for that. Because heartache and loneliness and all of those words we give to that feeling in our chest that's like uncomfortable.
Right.
Said there is something behind that, a little deeper inside of you, that is absolutely beautiful, absolutely magnificent, absolutely awesome, filled with love, filled with contentment and peace. Would you like to know that? And my heart was screaming. I had been feeling heartache for like 13 years nonstop because I couldn't distract myself from it. The way we deal with it, usually we distract ourselves from it, or we just pay attention to something else, or we deny it, ignore it, or we blame it on somebody. That's where, why we have enemies. We blame somebody for our disconnection from ourselves. And I say, well, if it wouldn't be for the Americans, then blah, blah, blah. Right? Or if it wasn't for the Canadians, or if it wasn't for Udo, or it was, whatever it is. So we find something to blame it on, but that doesn't solve it. Because then if we deal with it that way, maybe we have a war, or maybe we have some kind of revenge thing. And then we get a little bit of satisfaction out of the revenge, like 3 days. And then this thing is back because it didn't fix it. Because the fix is inside, not outside. The fix for disconnection from ourselves has to be reconnection to ourselves. That's an inside job.
Well, this is maybe easier said than done, because it does feel like a physical heartache. It feels, depression is very weighty, it's very heavy, and you can't really get out of it with your thoughts, because your thoughts are the ones that got you in it in the first place. And it
Right.
does all sorts of bad things to the immune system too, in terms of suppression, right?
Right. Of course. And so my view is, and this is partly why the lockdowns and the restrictions on traveling and the restrictions on social intercourse and all of that, why this is such a powerful, creates such a powerful possibility. We're getting time to stop, to become still, to be with ourselves. And I say to people, look, if you can't go outside, go inside. See what you find there. Nobody can restrict you from that, right? Because there's nobody who can make any rules of whether you bring your awareness inside and discover your magnificence. So what I say to people is not like, okay, it's true, there are thoughts attached to the depression and thoughts attached to the loneliness. And usually people want to say, what can I do not to feel it? And what I say is, no, feel it. Go into it. Be with it. It's not going to hurt you. Don't act on it. Don't let the thoughts make you act on it, but feel the feeling, because that is your starting point for your home journey. You can't get home if you're not willing. You can't find your way home if you don't know where you are, right? You need to know, if you want to come home, you need to know where you want to go, and you need to know where you are. Well, if depressed or lonely is what you are, then acknowledge that and be with it.
So acknowledge the fact that that's where you are and that that's a bottom point. And maybe where can you go from there? And the only really place you can go is to start reaching out for help, right?
Or reaching in for help.
Reaching in for help.
Right? Because sometimes you can't reach out for help because most people don't address it well. They'll give you a new distraction. They'll give you no way to think about it. But it will continue to come back until you actually address it the way it needs to be addressed. And one of the things I do is, first of all, know that the peace you're searching for when you feel awful is already within you. Number two, that peace is always there. It's part of your nature. So know that it's there. And if you haven't found it, it's still there.
What would that piece be? Like, give me an example of what that missing piece would be.
Well, it's an experience when everything is okay. You feel everything is taken care of. There's something within you that feels completely taken care of. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to prove. There's no raw goal that you got to pursue. It's just, you're there and you're whole and you're one with yourself. And you're not having conflicts and doubts and crazy ideas roaming around in your head. That place just exists a little deeper than your head roaming does. So that's already there.
Even though you might have, no job and struggling paying rent and trying to figure out your relationships, there's still a piece inside of you that's okay.
Yep. And you need to deal with your job and your relationships and all of those things. I'm not saying you shouldn't deal with them.
Right.
But I'm saying at the same time, there's also that piece. Give that a little bit of attention too. Right? And in fact, once you get good at it, you can go to the problem and then you can go to the peace, and you can go to the problem and you can go to the peace. And at one point, you'll be able to be in the peace and look at the problem, and you'll actually do a better job of dealing with the problem because you'll be in a better state of mind. So it'll be easier for you to find a job. You'll be more positive because you see the possibilities. You feel better about yourself. You're more likely to smile than to scream. That's probably good for getting a job, right?
Yes.
Because getting a job always involves other people. Yes. And if I don't feel taken care of and I'm mad and I think the world should be different and it's somebody's fault, but it's not my fault. That shows up pretty quick in the conversation. that may just not make it as easy to find a job.
Right.
And
I mean,
even if you completely went bankrupt and you had to go on the welfare line, you could be in the welfare line, and while you're waiting to get the handout, and sometimes that happens, and it's not even your fault. But even when you're in the worst place, that peace has not been changed. Unconditional love of life for your body is still there. Inspiration can still be there. And that will make a difference. If it doesn't make a difference on the outside, it makes a difference to your quality of life in your own experience. And we need that.
Yes, I get what you're saying. Can you lead us down a path of how to find that peace inside of ourselves?
Okay, so you got to start with where you are. You don't have peace. The heartache or the loneliness or the longing, striving, feeling separate, feeling isolated, the blues, if somebody dumped you, right? All of those are different words used for the same feeling, because that feeling began when we became disconnected from ourselves after birth. Because in the mother's body, we were connected. There was no place to go, nothing to do, everything taken care of, safe. So awareness was at rest inside, in its source, in life. And we spent maybe 9 months there if we're a term baby. So, and I call it the Buddha tank. And we are literally floating around in the Buddha tank. We're not growing the body. That was all happening automatically. And we just hung out in the light. And then we got born. And then we had to get to know the world to survive in it for a while. And our senses were drawn out into the world of change. Our awareness was drawn out through our senses into the world of change. And so we went from being present inside, but absent outside in our awareness. Connected inside. Now we got present outside, absent inside, disconnected from ourselves. And that's where heartache began. It wasn't about other people or situations. It was about our natural disconnection from ourselves in getting to know the world. But the going out is automatic. Life created it that way. Going back has to be deliberate. And so in order to do it deliberately, then there needs to be something that says, you got to do this. And heartache is the starting point. Heartache is your heart calling your awareness, or the focus of your awareness, to come back home inside to life, to reconnect with your wholeness.
So no matter what, we're feeling disconnected just by the birth process of isolating from the umbilical cord.
Yes.
And
so, go ahead.
And then we are in this world with these 7+ billion people, and we all are feeling the same sense of isolation until we find a tribe or a nurturer again, right?
Yeah, no, until we find a distraction.
Distraction.
Sometimes it may be the family, something. And part of what happened here, what's happened now, that in being isolated again and not being able to travel, our distraction has been taken away from us. And we're falling back to our condition of disconnectedness. And we think it's loneliness and longing for being with people. But actually, it's our heart calling us to come home to ourselves. See, and what I say to people is feel the feeling, but know that this is the greatest gift you've been given other than being alive. This ache is the greatest gift you've been given other than being alive. Because if it wasn't for that gift, you would never find your way back home. But it's calling you to come home. And it will nag you every time a distraction dries up, every time somebody betrays your trust, every time something happens that you expected, and then your expectation gets blown, you go, and you're back to this feeling.
Right.
It's called, and it will nag you no matter how many distractions you find. It will nag you until you come home. And in that coming home is where your wholeness and your love And all the things you deep down really want, they're all there already waiting for you to come home. Is that cool?
Yes, it really makes a lot of sense. It really does. So can you give us maybe an exercise that helps us focus on that piece, that missing piece inside of us? Now that you've explained it so beautifully, how do we find it and get all that other mental chatter out of the way?
Okay, so we started, first of all, know that it's there. Even if you're not feeling it, know that it's there.
Okay.
Because if you think it's not there, you're not going to make the effort. So know that it's there and you will find it. Sit with your ache and really sit with it. Don't do anything. Don't judge it. Just feel it. This is your greatest gift other than being alive, and I'll tell you why. Number one, it grounds you, gets you out of your head, and makes you simple. Getting out of your head is a big deal.
Just by sitting with the loneliness.
Yeah, because when you feel it, because your awareness is now here, not in your head.
Right.
So number one, it grounds you and makes it simple, takes you out of your head. Number two, it's your driving force. Everything you do has that as a drive. And subconsciously or consciously or unconsciously, you're hoping that whatever distraction you take on or whatever project you take on, when you succeed in accomplishing that project, you hope that you will feel whole again. And it never happens.
Yes.
Because you get the accomplishment. You know, how many accomplishments have you had in your life? Quite a few. Me too.
Yes.
What happens? You get 3 days, you say, yay, I did it. And then there's a letdown. And it's back to, oh my God, it didn't take care of me. And then you say, well, I didn't think big enough, or maybe I thought in the wrong direction. So let me figure out some other thing that I can do. And then you go into it and say, when I succeed, when I accomplish this, I will feel taken care of. I don't know how many times you've done it, how many times I've done it. Never happens. You get those 3 days and then, there's that restlessness is back. So
and then you want more. Yes.
So that's your driving force. Number three, it is your heart calling your focus, your awareness to focus back inside in its source to reconnect. Number four, it is the only starting point for that journey. Because if you're not willing to put your feet in the starting blocks, you ain't going to get the medal, right? You know, you say, somebody says, okay, I wanted to run the 800-meter race, but I'm not going to put my feet in the starting block. Well, you're not going to be in the race. So the race has to have a starting point and a finish line. This is the starting point. So that's really important that you embrace the starting point. You can't skate around it and you can't go over and under. That's flaky. That's not real. It's not real. So you create a whole bunch of nice sayings, and those sayings are nice, but when somebody cuts you off, but when somebody cuts you off in track, if you go ballistic and and the expletives are dripping down your windows.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's the only starting point. And number five is that if you have learned how to come home, then you'll feel so good that you'll start being careless again, and then you'll start drifting again, and then this will remind you to come home again. That's pretty powerful. Now, if you understand, if you understand that that's what heartache is, that it's that powerful, that it's that much of a gift, then you say, gee, I think maybe I'll just sit with the heartache. And then that far behind, like less than a hair's breadth behind your heartache, is your wholeness. So then it's like, okay, what do you do? Well, maybe I can sit down in the heartache and say, I don't know how to get there. Please show me. Whoever you ask, right? Please show me. Or you could see if you can somehow slide behind it. Or you could see if you can maybe let go and relax a little deeper and find it that way. Or you could maybe read some books about it, or you could talk to some people maybe who might know more than you do, or you might go to somebody and say, can you show me a method? And there are various methods that people use. But fundamentally, the most important thing is, do you want that? Do you want that peace? Is that important to you? If you're just curious about it, you're probably never going to get there. But if you really want it and you understand that your heartache is the expression of your need for it, this is not like a cute thing to do. This is like a need. Just like hunger makes food relevant and thirst makes water relevant, heartache makes peace relevant. Heartache makes unconditional love relevant. So, so there's lots of different ways, but it will take time. And just like you take time for breakfast and time for bathroom and time for work and time for dressing and undressing and sleeping and all the things that you do that you make time for, if you make time for being with this need, and you do this on a consistent, committed basis, you will find that peace. You will find that wholeness. And your heartache will go away because you'll know how to go there. And more you practice, better you get at going there. When I started, it was really hard. These days, it's really easy.
So the more you practice with it, because what if you get stuck in that place of feeling it, when that loneliness, and you say go into the feeling, what if you get stuck there and you just can't seem to feel it through it and go into it?
No, I say go deeper. Go deeper in the middle, inside. It's like the eye of the hurricane, right? So you're flying your plane into the hurricane. It's bouncing all over the map, right? Go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. You end up in the eye of the hurricane, complete calmness. And you're built like that too. All your hurricanes are on the outside. So go deeper, because depression only goes too deep, but peace is deeper. Unconditional love is deeper. All the goodies are deeper. It's almost like it's set up as a challenge to make you see how sincere you are about really wanting it.
So you've just reframed loneliness completely.
I did. Yeah. But loneliness or longing or the heartache or whatever you call that feeling in your chest, frustration, grief, loss. And it's about a feeling of loss. Right? You lost your distraction, you lost the things you're used to, but you lost yourself a long time ago. And if you can use the loneliness that comes from being isolated now, worldwide, if we could use that for this kind of journey, then the virus has accomplished something that all the great masters in the world never accomplished in their lifetime. And COVID did that in 3 or 4 months.
Accomplished what? This feeling of driving us back to ourselves no matter what?
Accomplished getting us to embrace our disconnection and dive into it to get back to our connection.
So
and you could call that a lot of things. I like to think of it as the second coming. Because
let me get an example. Because if you've lost a loved one and you're sad and lonely and depressed about this, and you're saying that loved one was the distraction for you not to have that loving feeling for yourself, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Wow.
But I mean it in the nicest, loving way.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are people who say, I can't be alone. I got to be with people. Well, why can't you be alone? What's wrong with you being alone? No, because my heart aches. I don't feel good. It's uncomfortable. Why is it uncomfortable? Because I'm not comfortable with myself. Why are you not comfortable with yourself? Because you never spend any time with yourself. You've never got to know yourself. You're not even friends with yourself. That life that loves you unconditionally, how well do you know it? For most of us, we don't know it so well.
Yeah.
And yet you came into the world loaded with all the goodies that you'll ever need to feel whole and fulfilled and rich and loved, because you are loved, because your body is loved unconditionally by life. And this is true for every human being on the planet. It's also true for the plants and the animals. So it's not like this is like special thing. And what is it? That's sunlight or solar energy. Solar energy is your life, right?
Yeah,
and there's an
it
objective
is.
part to it that the scientists study, and there's a subjective part that you go inside and experience for yourself. And the two are the same. But the experience is different. When you look at the outside of light, that's different than being the light.
You know, I'm thinking about this, and I'm really saying what I think people are going to be thinking about, you know, the devastation and the loss. And there's a lot of that out there, and the loneliness and the isolation.
Yeah.
My question for you, though, is how long does one have to practice this? Like, you've been at this for a long time, and the Buddha and different, you know, religious figures have been at this for a long time. How long do you think it would take the average person to get to this beautiful place of peace that you talk about, where everything is really complete?
It depends on the intensity of your willingness to sit with it. It depends on the intensity of your desire for peace, the desire for unconditional love, the desire for joy, the desire for what that great treasure is. Because if you're kind of just curious and saying, I said I would do it, but today I think I'll just go to a movie, or I'll go and do something else, then it's going to take you longer, right? The intensity of your interest in embracing your being fully can make it very short. I can tell you this, that when I started doing, I've been doing it for 48 years.
Okay.
When I started it, I would sit down and it's like I couldn't sit still.
Right.
You know, it was so hard for me. And then I would say to myself, oh God, this is so hard. And you know, one day, and it was hard, and it was hard. And one day I listened to myself saying that. And I said, gee, I wonder what would happen if I said to myself, oh, this is really easy. I don't believe it, but let's see what happens if I say it's really easy. And you know, the moment that I said, oh, this is easy, it became easy. It became a lot easier. And then it's a matter of deeper and deeper, deeper. My view is every day from now until my body checks out, I'm going to dedicate a part of my day to sitting still and seeing how still I can be, and seeing how deep I can go into that stillness, and see how long I can stay there, and then observe what I find in that stillness, in the space that my body occupies.
It's a deep meditation. That's a beautiful, deep meditation. Do you ever look around you at something beautiful at that time, like water, or look in family and see if there's friends? I mean, do you ever, are you ever grateful in that practice, or is that just another distraction?
Well, it depends. If you're grateful because your mother taught you, you should be grateful and thank you whenever, and you do it as rote. You may not have that kind of gratefulness, but there's a gratefulness that comes from how incredible it feels to be alive. And that's a natural gratefulness. And then what's interesting, when my state of being changes, so now I am in peace and I feel loved, and I look around and it's like, oh my God, peace has always been everywhere. I just didn't see it because peace in me wasn't doing the observing. Because anger in me sees enemies and fear in me sees danger. So depending on what my state of emotion or being is, will define what I see in the world. And will also define how I live into the world and what kind of a world I create. So if I can find the peace and the love inside of me, everything is peaceful and loving. And I will now treat everything with respect or with kindness and care. And do you think that the world would be different if 8 billion people did that from the way it is right now? And
Oh,
it's the
yes.
only thing, and it's the only thing that will change the world, is a stage in being. And I have 100% control over my state of being. I have influence on the rest of the world, but I don't have control of the rest of the world. So it's homework.
I love what you said about, you said peace in me is the observer.
Yeah.
Peace in me is the observer. So my eyes look through, it's like looking through glasses of peace, and everything I see is so much clearer through those glasses.
Yeah, except it's the other way around. The peace is behind your eyes.
Yes.
Peace is using your eyes to look at peace everywhere else, right? So the filter is in the back, and between the peace out of which I could look through my eyes, there's also mental filters in my head. And if I'm focused on those mental filters, they will change my perception of the world.
I'm getting clearer the more questions I'm asking about this.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's a state that you have observed for 48 years, and I really want to understand who you're being. And I do have, I have a naturally joyful disposition. I don't know why, but I have friends, and I've seen some of my daughter's friends that really have an absolute chemical imbalance with anxiety and depression, and they can't get out of it.
Yes.
No matter how hard they try.
Okay, so let me suggest something. I know that the medical profession, when you get depression or anxiety, they say your brain chemistry changed. But actually, there is very little research evidence of that. What happens is your thoughts change. And your thoughts change your chemistry. And if you can step out of your thinking brain into a deeper place where those thoughts can't go, into something that is more whole and more complete and more beautiful, you can literally step out of that. So in other words, you can't get out of depression or anxiety. You got to go into inner. You got to go back to the eye of the hurricane again.
The only way out is through, as they say. The only way out is through. So you go into the stillness of the depression. You go into the stillness of the sadness. And this is, this level of deep meditation has been taught for centuries. It does take a master, though, to achieve. But you're saying it doesn't.
No, mastery is that achievement. So every human being has the master within them. Life is that master.
Oh.
Right? So they like the way we look at it is some guy 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, there was this guy. But all of what that guy said is what I have, you have. They all said that in one way or another. What is in me is in you. If you do what I do, which is I sit down and take time to be still and discover the depths of being, and then I bring that to expression because I'm in the experience of it, said, if you do that, you will have the same experience that I have. And the master is life because I said at the beginning, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient in you. The life energy weighs nothing, runs the entire show, is everywhere present. You don't have to think about digesting your food. You don't have to think about breathing. You don't have to beat your heart, right? You don't have to twig your nerves to fire. Life is doing all of that with very little input on your part. And you get to run around and think about trippy things and do all kinds of stuff. And the whole time you're being taken care of. Now, if I'm depressed, that's still true. And if I'm anxious, that's still true. And and depression and anxiety take place in perfect peace. But we're looking at the thoughts and triggering chemistry with them instead of looking at the peace. Let me say it one other way. Even a battle where people kill each other takes place in perfect peace, no matter where you go.
Wow.
Why is that? Because peace is in the warriors, both of them. Peace is around them. Peace is above them. Peace is below them. Peace is between them. But even though all of that is taking place in perfect peace, they're not focused on the peace. The one guy's focused on, you're my enemy, I'm going to kill you. And the other one's focused on, you're my enemy, and I'm going to kill you. And so they play that game of, you're my enemy, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, on a foundation of perfect peace. Well, anxiety is like that too. On a foundation of perfect peace, I have thoughts of fear about the future. What ifs, what ifs, what ifs? What if you dropped out of the what ifs? Right? And with depression, it's more like, my life has always been crappy. You know, things are just not. And, you know, when I was depressed, I know those states. When I was depressed, I could look at my entire life and say, my entire life has always been a disaster. And when I would be in a good mood, I could look at that same life all the way back and say, oh my God, my life has always been incredible. They coexist. And you get to choose. And you get to choose which one you focus on.
So you've dealt with this in your life. You've been a depressed person. You've been a lonely person. You've been disconnected.
Yeah. Yeah. And I could still go there. It's just like, I like this better. This is way better. Right?
I don't blame you. And of course, the oils led you here, right? The oils really do help with the depression, don't they?
Well, yes, they help because they give you more energy. And when you have more energy, you tend to, well, I call them the God molecule. Alpha linolenic acid, the omega-3. So there's alpha and omega. That's just trippy. But they have the most energy of any of the molecules. And anything that increases your energy level is likely to uplift you, because energy is so light. Energy is so light that it takes dust and water and raises it up out of the ground all the way to the top of your head. Do you get that?
Explain that again.
Okay, yeah, it sounds crazy, but here I am. I'm 6 feet tall, right? Okay. And I walk around, and this is all water and dust that got raised up into the top of my head, human form, right? Well, if you take the life out of that, goes down, never comes back up. And then you could say, well, you know, you have muscles and bones. Mm-hmm. But if you take the energy out of the body, the muscles and bones don't hold you up. Boom, you're down because you're dead, right?
Still stuck on the dust part. How are we dust?
Well, so your body is 70% water, 15% fat, 10% protein, 4% minerals, that's the dust. And, you know, they say dust to ashes, dust to dust, right? So, yes. But it's all physical stuff that used to be in the ground. The water goes downhill. Right? So that's all being raised up. So your brain is 80% water. And that water has been raised from the ground all the way up there. That's how light is. That's how light energy is. Lighter than hydrogen, lighter than helium. You know, and you can raise them in the air. But this light, this power that weighs nothing, can hold you up all the way up to the top of your head. And if you put your hands over your head, even higher. Right? People don't think about it, but that's sort of an insight that I had one day. It's like, oh my God, this energy is so light. So anything that gives you more energy gives you more lightness.
So I get that. I get it. It is very much the energy from the earth and how it recycles back into the earth and back into human form over lifetimes, but it does.
And energy is the power of the cells to do their job. So if these are high energy molecules, then they make your thyroid work better. and they make your ovaries work better, and they make your liver work better, and they make you repair your immune system work better. So anything that gives you more energy will make all the different cell types in your body do their job better. And they make hormones work better at the cell receptor level. And it just goes on and on and on. So they help in that sense. But they're still sunlight. The energy in the oils is still solar energy, trapped by green leaves into chlorophyll, into molecules, stored in the bonds between atoms. And when we eat those as food and break them down, then that energy is released, and there's the solar energy that is our life that we live on.
Thus giving you the joy of the sunlight. As you started the very beginning of this interview talking about, the sunlight is the joy. Even though it's not, maybe if it's raining, it's okay. It's still there.
Well, even if it's raining, it's still in my body. And in fact, when you do a practice of stillness and you look into the darkness, because if you turn out all the lights and you close your eyes, and maybe you do it at midnight just so there's really no light, right? So you look into the darkness inside of you, because that's the first thing you're going to see. If you look deep enough into the darkness, you will discover light. And you are that light. And that's the solar energy that is you in your essential being. Your essential being is not your body. Your essential being is your life, is life. Because if I say to you, hey, Lisa, point at you and I say, hey, Lisa, whose body is that?
Mine.
My body. But you just busted yourself because you've just said, I am not the body. If I take my shoe off and I say, whose shoe is that? Or you say, whose shoe is that? Oh, that's my shoe. Well, I'm not the shoe. I'm the owner. If this is your body, then you are the owner. That's what you've just said.
Right.
Do you get that?
Yes.
So if you're the owner, then who's the owner? And then some people say, oh, well, it's me. It's Udo. No. Udo is just a label somebody stuck on me. I'm not Udo either. I'm not the body. I'm not Udo. Who owns this body? Well, life owns this body. And the day life separates from the body's finished. Then death owns the body.
Is the life force that owns the body.
So how well do you know life? So it's kind of like, wow, you don't even know yourself. And that's what Socrates complained about, right? Know thyself.
Yes.
Why didn't he say know everything but thyself? Because that's what we do. He said, know thyself. And then he said, the unexamined life is not worth living. When you're not in touch with the energy that is your joy and your juice and your sexy and your when you're not in touch with that energy, then you can see you're going to be less energetic. And you get unenergetic enough because you're not in touch with it. You get depressed.
So depression is really a disconnection from our life force.
Yeah.
And
But so is everything else that's not working.
Right. So is illness, so is disease. Yeah. True. And then if we reconnect to our life source, that is where, and if you really look to the sun and to the energy and to the molecules that create your living, breathing body, that's where the joy source is. Yeah,
but you don't get it from looking at the sun. You get it from looking at the sun within yourself.
Got it. Thanks for I'm glad you keep correcting me on that. Yes.
Because that's what your identity is. That's what your personal identity is the sunlight that is you, that is your life. That runs your show, right? That runs your body. That tells you when to be hungry, to bring in building blocks. It tells you when to relieve yourself, because you have limited capacities, right? That tells you when it's time to sleep. It's life that lets you know all that. Because if you didn't have life, you would never relieve yourself. You would never be hungry. You would never sleep, right? So there's it, and it does almost everything automatically. So you could just be tripping on something else, including anxiety and depression.
Oh.
Right?
Now, if you could maybe really influence a mass group of people with this,
Yeah.
what would that look like? If you could maybe bring a movement to people with this, what would the movement be? How would you let more and more people know about this, Udo?
If I had a magic wand, I would touch every one of the 8 billion people on the planet to bring their awareness into their heart, and it would completely transform their experience of their existence. Because that's where the goodies are. We got put on this planet with those goodies. We have them, but we go out instead of going in. And if I had a magic wand, I would make it possible for people to instantly go into the beauty of their existence, because it would transform the entire planet. And frankly, that's where we're heading, because the way where we're heading right now is we're destroying the environment, we're destroying our politics, we're destroying our societies, we're destroying our relationships, and we're destroying our health by living from disconnection, from discontent. And when you're discontent, you become destructive. I've been doing this practice for a long time because I came out of a war and it was just personal for me. And I always thought, I didn't talk about it. I was doing it even before I got poisoned by pesticides and got into oils. I was doing the practice. And it wasn't until 2001 that it changed for me, because 2001, 9/11, I realized discontent people will always spread discontent. The bombing of the trade towers. Worldwide, everybody's got everybody's attention. As from a terrorist point of view, awesome thing they did, because they got attention, they freaked everybody out, they scared everybody. And what occurred to me, my take home was, discontent people will always spread discontent because they are discontent. And that's just a natural expression of discontent. If people who know what contentment is, and I'm one of those people, because I practice it and I like it and it's personal. If we don't do more to spread contentment than they do to spread discontentment, guess where we're headed?
Right, more of the same.
Yeah, it's going to get worse. So there has to be, when everything's getting worse, there has to be something that allows it to get better. And that thing that allows it to get better is built into every human being. We just have to look into it instead of looking away from it.
We don't need anything. It's not external. It's not outside of it. Every single person has this available inside themselves.
Right. That's not external. Of course, we get food from external to build the body. And there's external things we need to do. I don't want it to rain into my bed. I need socks in winter so my feet don't get cold. So we have external things we need to do to look after the body. But the body is just our project. It's not our how to say it. It's not our purpose. We have the body as a tool to do physical things on the physical plane.
But our life force,
our purpose is to fully enjoy the gift of life that we've been given, because we only get it for a time, right? And what is it like to be alive in human form, as opposed to, sunshine hitting a rock?
Yes, I love this. I mean, it really gives a sense of purpose to many of us who have lost that. And the beautiful thing is that every single one of us has this inside ourselves. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't require 10 steps. It's just going into the stillness.
Yeah, that's what's so cool. That is and we have, we have maybe 100 years. 4 billion years, you didn't exist. Maybe you get 100 years. 4 billion years, it won't exist. Make the most of it. In this form, you got this form. You can experience everything, including the deepest, deepest, deepest source of what created all this. At the same time as you're living your life and doing your work and doing all this stuff, but give this time, because this, the purpose of life, the truest purpose of life is in the direct experience of it.
That
And
is a
then,
beautiful way. Yes,
and
a
then you can
beautiful
have,
way to look at it. Yeah.
and then you can have a worldly purpose and do some things. And probably if you're fulfilling the primary purpose, then you're not going to be a taker. You're going to be a giver because you feel so cared for that now you say, okay, well, it's not about me anymore because I'm done. I'm good. Right. And if I'm
Yeah.
not good, I know where to go to be good. Okay. So what needs to be done around here? Where can I help? How can I make life better for other people? And guess
That
what?
is beautiful
And
purpose.
guess what? If
What?
that's for real, that's also good for business because then you'll take on the things that you wouldn't take on if you were just trying to get yourself taken care of.
Absolutely. You can keep going from there. I want to listen to this over and over again. I suggest anybody can. It's at the Aware Show podcast. If you want to just share this with friends, listen to it over and over again, go back to the beginning, hear what Udo is speaking about going into the heart.
And
Yes.
that's not to minimize that people are struggling.
Yeah.
A lot of people are
About that.
struggling because we've had some expectations blown. And I mean, that's just an easy way to say it, right? Whether it's jobs or traveling or family or, there's tension, there's stress. And sometimes under stress, we go into the stupidest places inside of us. I'm just saying, in the midst of all that, give a little bit of time to your own magnificence. And maybe then you can help acknowledge that magnificence in other people.
That's the beauty. That's the magic right there. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Udo. You are just a gift to this planet. And I really do encourage, not only have you helped us with our life force and our body and how the oils bring that light forward in us, but really how to heal our hearts and know that we are all we need. We are completely enough. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Lisa.
All right, enjoy. And again, you can listen to this on the Aware Show podcast. And Udo's website is udoerasmus.com, his name. And I am so grateful that you're here. Until next time, I invite you to stay aware.